everyone. My name is Alison Woodall, and I'm a relocation expert. That means that I get to help you with the financial, logistical, and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I am talking to Gil Long, and his hobby is ranking metropolitan and city areas in the USA. Gil, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you today.
Thank you so much for talking to me. That is such an interesting hobby. And for the people who are in the Leaving California Facebook groups, they will have seen you popping into their conversations a lot, just giving kind of words of advice. So before we get talking about how you got started with this hobby, I know you live in Charlotte, and there's a lot of people who are interested in moving to kind of the Charlotte area or maybe North or South Carolina. Can you tell me a little bit about Charlotte and why you love living there so much?
Yes, I live in a suburban area west of Charlotte, in Gastonia, North Carolina, and I've lived here most of my life, and I was raised here. I like living here because there's a lot to do. You have the U.S. National Whitewater Center, the sports teams, the Panthers, the Hornets, the Carowinds theme park, the state parks, and the lakes, and that sort of thing. And the people are really good. I love the people here. That's probably the thing I like most about here. And I love the 4-season climate. The economy is really good. And two of my family's here, so that doesn't hurt. And I know that a lot of people who are leaving California would be having to do that. So, but it's very family oriented as well.
Yeah, I like the Charlotte area because you've got the big city metropolitan kind of feel if you want to be close to Charlotte, but it's very easy to get out into the countryside very quickly. So it's a great area to live.
Yes.
Well, so let's talk about this fascinating hobby, ranking cities. How did you get started doing that?
Oh man. Wow, this is really geeky. Back when this would be in the mid 70s when I was about in the 6th grade, we had to do a project on geography, and I just fell in love with maps and cities and towns and such. So I really developed a love for it then. And plus my family and I, we vacationed a lot. But when I got in college in the early 80s or so, I had to do a similar project about metropolitan areas specifically. And I just found it very fascinating. Places that you thought that you hear on TV and everything that you thought had a really good livability, statistically it really didn't. And then other places were surprisingly good. So as I got older and on my own, I traveled more and I just fell in love with it. So the depth of why I'm as interested in it, I don't know, but but I love it. And at this point, I just like getting on the page you have. I just enjoy helping people find the places they want to go, because a lot of people it's just so foreign to them, and it's such a big country, and finding that specific area I know has got to be scary. So if you can sort of help people narrow it down and then they can go from there. I just like that. I love people. So I have nothing to sell, and I'm not a real estate agent or anything. It's just, I like doing things. I just like seeing people be able to make these decisions for their families. And if I can help a little bit, that's good.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, so talking about these rankings, you rank every 5 years, you redo the rankings.
Yes.
And what are the kind of factors that you take into consideration when you are ranking a city or a metropolitan area?
I take in cost of living, recreational assets. I'm probably going to miss a few. There are 10 categories. The economy, climate, and things like that, different aspects like that. But over the years, I've tried to hone in and sort of make them a little more, I don't know where people, I'm trying to think of what the right word is, but for instance, cost of living. I know that with the average family in America, I tried to come up with different categories, maybe to give a little more weight to it, because I know that, the arts for some people is not going to mean as much as an economy or whatever. So for them to have equal weight. So I did a lot of reading and research and found out different things that matter most to the average American.
I think the way you've ranked things makes complete sense. There's certain things, the cost of your house, the cost of your groceries, the cost of utilities, those are universal. But then for some people, like you say, being close to the arts is more important. For if you have kids, good schools is more important. But I think what's important about your rankings is, like you said earlier, you have nothing to sell. This is just your hobby. So yours are completely impartial rankings. You're not trying to skew it towards, a job market or a housing market.
Exactly.
Well, what I would love to do, I am going to attempt to share my screen and we will pull up your rankings. See how this goes. Okay, can you see them on your screen?
I sure can.
Okay, so hopefully Zoom is going to record this just like it looks on my screen. This is my first time doing this.
Okay, that's good.
So when you say metro area, what do you consider like a metro area?
A metro area, what I consider a metro area, you have a central city, and in my opinion, a central city of a metro area needs to have at least 40,000 people to have that metropolitan feel and that draw. And then the suburban areas, which is usually about a 40-mile radius around the central city, is what constitutes the metro area because of the relationship they have with one another and the influence they have with one another. And for instance, right there, Cincinnati, it says Cincinnati, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio. There are counties around Cincinnati that are in different states. So sometimes it can go into different states as well.
Okay. And so you obviously, Charlotte is number 2 on there. Would you ever, based on your ranking, consider moving to Cincinnati, or is the pull of family too strong?
We love living here. I would never, there are very few places I would personally want to live elsewhere, but I would highly recommend Cincinnati. It's a great place to live. But yes, Charlotte, we're going to stay here for good. Family, and it's just a good area to live. But the family's the biggest thing. Our children and our granddaughters are here, and my personal family is here, my extended family. So yeah.
Well, so when you look at, so taking Cincinnati, so as the number 1 city, using your ranking, it presumably means that the cost of living is good.
Yes.
The cost of housing, utilities, schools, presumably crime is taken into consideration as well.
Yes, it is.
And so when you put all of your different rankings together with the weighting that you've given them, this is the list that you came up with.
Exactly. And it's a pretty balanced area. It really is. And that was actually when I started doing these, one of the ones that ranked well, and it surprised me because you hear a lot about different areas of the country that TV and movies and all that you have an image would do really well. But Cincinnati is an excellent area, and I've been there. It's good.
Yeah, I almost ended up living in Cincinnati, but I didn't. I've been to all of these places. Philadelphia was a surprising one for me but I suppose it's different areas of Philadelphia. You're not talking, overall, it would be like any city, you can find bad parts and there's also good parts.
Yes, actually, Philadelphia is a very good example. I personally would not live even in the metropolitan area, but they have a lot of good aspects. For instance, education and healthcare, they rank extraordinarily well. And for a metropolitan area size, it's relatively inexpensive to live. But then again, there are other aspects of it. I just would not, I would personally not want to live there.
And so this is excellent. As long as someone knows what they want. So I can look at your list and straight away, I know Omaha could be the most amazing city. It could be your number 1 city, but it's not going to be my city because being surrounded by cornfields is not my thing. Same thing with Kansas City. I've been there. It's too hot and stormy in summer. But then I look at the other cities and I'm like, oh yeah, I could live there. I could live there. So the starting point always has to be knowing yourself and knowing what you want. And looking kind of at an area of the country that you think you'd like, and then look at these cities and use them as a kind of way to drill down and as a starting point, because you may go and visit Omaha and find out that it is the most perfect city for you, or you may go there and decide no, it's not. But Kansas, you can go down the road to Kansas City, and that could be perfect.
Exactly. That's the thing. There's not a right or wrong answer.
Okay, well, now let's move on to your small town rankings. So what do you consider a small town? What is it, a population size?
Yes, and that's something I need to work on a little bit, because there seems that I've always thought to myself 30,000 or less, because if you start getting above 30,000, it doesn't have that hometown feel. But then you've got that dead zone between 30 and 40,000 for the metro. I'm like, ugh, I got to work on that. But one thing is, these towns are outside of metropolitan areas. So they don't have that metropolitan or suburban feel. They can be within an hour maybe, but of a metropolitan area or a big city, but they are outside of a metropolitan area, and they have 30,000 ish or less.
Okay. Well, I can speak to Toccoa, Georgia. It is beautiful. I could very happily live there, but I lived in Northeast and Atlanta in Lawrenceville for 15 years. So I love everything in Georgia. Georgia's, in terms of livability, is probably still my favorite state.
Yes, I like Georgia a lot too.
Yeah, and we were just in I never know if it's Kanab, Utah, last year, and that was a really cool little town.
Yes, it is. It is. A lot of these I haven't gone to that are outside of the region where I'm at, but I've done a lot of research on, and actually known a few people like Sandusky, Ohio, people who loved it there. That's right on Lake Erie.
Wonderful. Okay, so if you're wanting a smaller town, this would be the list to look at. And wherever you're watching this video, I'm going to post this list in the comments so that you can download it and use it just as a guidance for when you're thinking about moving to a different state. Okay, and so this is your pick. Is this based on obviously the stats and you visiting them, or what makes it your pick?
My pick, this is ones I like personally too. Being on the Leaving California page, from what I've seen, the different people they're looking for and the different families that are on there, what they are looking for, these fit the bill. These are areas that are family oriented. The cost of living's low. They've got good economies, and they're more conservative. And I noticed a lot of people are looking for that, and they rank in the overall rankings that I have really well. And I think I've been to every one of them. So at some point or another over the years, but they're very good. And what you're saying is really true. I would personally not want to live in the middle of the United States. I'm like you, I like to be near, but there's some great areas out there.
Based on what I know, I would completely agree with your list. We just moved from Tampa. Tampa right now is my favorite city in terms of livability in the whole of the US. And for all the people who are scared about humidity, when you live somewhere and your standard of living and the way that the lifestyle that you have, when it's so amazing, you'll put up with crazy humidity, because Tampa has crazy humidity.
Exactly. And it's funny you said that, because my wife and I have talked that if we were going to live anywhere outside of the Carolinas, we would want to live in Central Florida, because we visited enough over the decades for vacations and things like that every year, and sometimes weeks at a time down there. And we know we could live there in the Tampa, Orlando little corridor there. We know we could live there and be happy. So yeah, and I completely agree. You have to have a give and take in anywhere you live. It's not going to be exactly what you want, but you have to balance that out. And like you said, yeah, it's humid there, but it has so much in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. Yeah.
Yeah. And so much about being happy and loving where you live is about your attitude, because I live in Lathrop, which is the Central Valley in California, and most people don't like it here, and they think people are unfriendly and they think it's a horrible place to live. And I'm having the best time. The people are so friendly. I'm doing all kinds of things that I never thought I would do, and I love it. And I'm now at the point where when it's 110 degrees outside, I'm like, oh, it's a little bit warm, but, and I never thought I would be that person, because, when you know what you want, when you know what makes you happy, and you choose to be happy and make the best of the situation, the USA is an amazing country. Wherever you go, you can make a good life.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I love about it. There's a lot of variety for about anyone.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, anything else that you want to add?
I love the page. I love everything I see on there and seeing how people are wanting to go to areas where they can improve. And I'm glad for you guys, you and Terry, having this page for everyone to. I've gotten a lot of good information just seeing it myself, and blessed to see everybody on there helping each other.
Yeah, Terry does an amazing job of, trying to just, the goal of the page is to inspire people to leave. And also for those people who can't leave yet, to keep people motivated, because eventually, the circumstances will be right, and that you can leave. And that's kind of my goal, is to equip people with everything that they need, so that whether they leave, in the next month, or whether they leave in the next 10 years, when they do finally leave, they've got the right mentality for what to expect when they leave. They've found that place that suits all of their needs, knowing that nowhere is perfect. I mean, I could move to Charlotte, your #1 city, and if my life, if my life sucks, it's here, it's still going to suck in Charlotte. You have to fix all the things that you can control.
Personal stuff, yes, exactly.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. It's been extremely helpful.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. And I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you very much.